Hola, ¿cómo estás? Bienvenido, bienvenida a otra clase para practicar internal assessment for our Spanish IB Initio course. As you know, we are going to start working first with the details and what you're going to be asked to do during the internal assessment, and then we're going to practice with specific cases for this unit that is Organización Social, right? Remember, as I always say, that your teacher may give you or may teach you this unit before, after, etc. For me, it is unit 4, but of course, it can be organized wherever in the syllabus, okay? So remember that the internal assessment is going to be an activity of around 25 to 30 minutes total. You're going to have 15 minutes of prep time at the beginning, and then you're going to have one part of the internal assessment where you do some solo speaking, then a conversation with the teacher, and later on a discussion about another topic of the syllabus. So at first, as you know, you're going to be given 2 images. You're going to choose one, and once you've chosen your image, you're going to go to the back of the room or to the designated area that your teacher gives you, and you will have 15 minutes of prep time, right? For those 15 minutes, you can be using a notebook, write things to write, etc. I strongly recommend that you use the time to take notes of key vocabulary, key ideas that you want to work with, which unit you think that this image is matching with, etc. Remember that you're going to begin your presentation with a description of the picture, so as much vocabulary as possible. It doesn't necessarily have to do, it doesn't need to be linked with the unit that you're working with. For example, I can describe facial features or personal attributes of the people in the image, or talk about colors, talk about shapes, talk about sizes of things that I see, right? Then I am going to link this description with one of the units of the syllabus. In our case, it's going to be Organización Social. Then you're going to make a link with something related to the Spanish-speaking world, right? That has to do with things that you have studied. So I'm sure that you're going to be able to do it. One of the topics or like subtopics or contents that you have been studying in the syllabus, and then your personal interpretation, right? That will kick off later on the discussion with the teacher. The teacher will later on ask you about what do you think about the thing that is going on in the image. If you rather be, I don't know, somehow linked to that thing that is happening. In the past, we've seen, for example, quinceañeras. Maybe would you like to participate in a quinceañera? Yes, no. How does this same thing happen? Or how does this same thing, does it have a parallel to what happens in your country, in your community, in your culture, etc.? And then at the end, there's going to be a discussion. The teacher will say, okay, thank you. Let's talk about something else, right? Identidades, experiencias, ingenio humano, etc. Okay? Bien. So overall, we kick off with 2 minutes of solo speaking. Remember that this thing about the description of the image is very important because you are recording an audio, right? There's no video, and ideally, you would be able to describe what's happening in the picture, so the person that is listening to your audio recording understands what's really happening in the picture, yes? And then the discussion and the relationship with other topics or other units that we have studied, okay? So as I said, we're going to go first to the image number 1, and then we have another image. They're both connected to, or mainly or openly connected to, Organización Social, because remember that these are images, and also remember that all units are intertwined, right? So if I start with Organización Social, it's not that I'm ruling out other things, okay? So ideally, look at the image that I'm going to show now, put pause, take your notes, and try to figure out how would you describe it, what thing or topic or whatnot about the syllabus you can relate this with. Later on, would you like to be, or what do you personally think about the thing that is happening in the image? And then think about possible points for discussion with your teacher. So image number 1 is this. Yes? What we see in this image is obviously kind of a waiting room in a hospital or clinic or something along these lines. Clearly, this is connected within the topic of social organization. We are focusing here on the topic of public health, right? Do we know for sure that this is a public health facility? Of course we don't, right? But that's a thing that is in the syllabus, so we're going to assume that this is a public health facility. We could, of course, speak about, for example, the ages of the people, the thing that I have an abuelo and a nieta, or we assume that that's a relationship that they have. We have a young man, un hombre joven, charlando, conversando con una doctora o con un doctor. I'm not sure. She looks like a woman, but I'm not fully sure. Yes, maybe because of her boots. They look female, but I don't know. Bien, other things that we could speak about is how they are taking precautionary measures with the masks, ¿sí? Las mascarillas, cubrebocas, diferentes maneras. There are different ways of saying mask, face mask, and depending on the different places that we visit in the Spanish-speaking world. Of course, we can also think about how well, or for example, do we see a lot of people in this waiting room, in this, maybe it's triage, I don't know, right? We can think about whether this is a free service that people receive. I mean, free, right? If we have public health, we all pay it with our taxes, right? But think about what services do you have in your country with public health. And if you have studied one example of the Spanish-speaking world, think about what are the services that you can get in some countries. Because, for example, in some countries of the Spanish-speaking world, there are some services that are still very private, even though there are extended services of public health. For example, in Spain, there are basically no provisions for dental care, right? For public dental care. It's very difficult to get an appointment with a dentist, right? And if you do it, they're not going to cover for many procedures, right? Even if you pay for a private health insurance, the dental thing, it only covers you so much, right? You have to pay for most of the procedures that you have. In other countries, for example, if I think about Argentina, you can have, for example, even sex adequation surgery for free in the public health system, right? Of course, nothing is perfect, and there are a lot of shortcomings in all public health systems, but the idea is that maybe you can think about how different societies in the Spanish-speaking world provide different services. You could even think about, for example, public health during COVID, right? How did it work? What do you know about that? How did it work in your country? How much time were you in lockdown? Do you still have to wear masks to go into a hospital or a clinic or something like that, even though in, I think, nowhere in the world it is still mandatory to go in the public, like on the street, etc., with masks, I think. I assume, right? But think about what happens when you get into a hospital or a clinic or a place where they give you medical attention. See, this looks like a very organized place, a very, I don't know, it looks as if they were providing, like people are chilling here, right? There's no emergency, obviously, and not many people seem to be in the waiting room. So we expect the, I would say, the grandkid to get medical attention soon enough, ¿sí? Bien, vamos entonces a la segunda imagen. Pardon, one of the things that I think would work well with this image is, again, to compare it with what you feel or what you have or what you don't have in your own country. Does this compare, or is it very different? This is for you to think about and to talk about. Bien, let's go to the second image, right? We here see this girl. We assume that she's studying, right? And this connects to the another topic of the social organization unit, that is ways and methods and systems of education. See, in our course, we have been talking about different types of exams and different styles of learning, and it looks as if she is studying for an exam or preparing for, I don't know, she has a computer, she has a pen, and she has a notebook, right? So we're going to assume that she's studying for an exam or some important, or we can imagine that she's studying for an important, I don't know, task, presentation, test, or whatnot. Maybe she's studying for IB. And what we can say about this is, first of all, describe what type of education does she look as, because we can either say that she's studying for an exam or maybe she's taking a class, right? We can think about hybrid ways or hybrid systems of education that are currently here to stay, right, after the pandemics. You can talk about how do you study? Does it look like, or for example, the fact that this is a girl, she looks a little bit older than IB, so I assume that she's in university. Think about access to university for different genders, where you live. Think about what do you want to study, right? That would be a good idea to talk about. Think about, for example, how online studies have opened the possibility for many people that can attend classes on a face-to-face basis, right? How much has it opened the possibility of studying or even studying abroad? Maybe this girl is studying in another country, right? Through computers. And also think about what are the drawbacks, right, of this type of education. Yes, the fact that we don't connect, the fact that we are isolated, the fact that we don't have maybe, or it's different. I'm not saying it's impossible because you have like WhatsApp groups and whatnot, but it's different to be meeting face-to-face to study for an exam. Think about the goods and the bads of studying by yourself. Think about, or you can even explain how nervous you get, right, when you study by yourself. You can think about, even like if we are focusing on IB, which I recommend you do, right? If we focus on IB, show how even when she may be in whatever place in the world, right, the way she studies may look very similar to the way you are studying, right? You may be using even the same type of resources, books, videos, I don't know, whatever is it, podcasts, whatever is it that you use to study. Think about whether maybe you are a part of an online community for IB or not. But if you're not, maybe figure that out. Think about that. Something that we could do when we are describing the picture at the beginning is also talk about her, right? Describe her hair, the color of her eyes, the color of her skin, whether she's thin, or maybe, well, she's thin, right? I don't know. Think about those other personal attributes, because the image is very kind of clean, is very simple and straightforward. Or you can even think, maybe also thinking about the unit of social organization, maybe she's not studying for an exam, maybe she's applying for a job or writing a personal statement essay, or again, like maybe applying for uni. I don't know. Think about those possibilities, and also put the stress here on how, even though she may be wherever in the world, it's very likely that she's doing the same thing that you are doing, right? And then, I don't know, praise IB in that sense, or not. I would say praise, but you know what? Take your pick in that sense. So we are rounding up this Organización Social unit. We still have one more to go, and it's a wrap, okay? So see you in the next video or in whatever video. Nos vemos y muchas gracias por la atención. Hasta luego.